What's up, you guys? Teddy Striker here, and I just watched UFC 325, and overall, it wasn't a bad event, but it definitely wasn't really anything to write home about. Let's talk about the main event. Diego Lopes versus Alexander Volkanovski went about as how we all thought it would. Basically the same as the first fight. Diego Lopes did get a flash knockdown over Volkanovski, but outside of that, Volkanovski was having his way. He was controlling Diego Lopes at range. And in this fight, I would say he was standing his ground a little bit more. He was controlling the cage a bit more. And Diego, he wasn't as aggressive as he was in the first fight. He wasn't pressuring as much. And to be honest, I thought that was his best path to victory. Just stay on the pressure, but really cut Volkanovski off. But he wasn't able to do that, and he kind of stayed at a bit of a kickboxing range. He was trying to kick Volk a lot more, which he was having success with. But Volkanovski was able to outkick him from kicking distance, and you could see at the end of the fight, Diego was limping. His leg was really bad, and Volkanovski is one of the best kickers in the sport. So that was a poor game plan from Diego, and also we did see Volk attempt a couple takedowns here and there and get the fight to the ground momentarily. Diego did get a takedown as well, but the fight wasn't really contested on the ground too much. But my honest take on this fight is it should not have happened. I think Lerone Murphy or Mazur should have been in that octagon with Volkanovski. I don't know why the UFC was so adamant on getting Diego back in there. I don't think he showed enough in that John Silva performance to show that he could beat Alexander Volkanovski. And next, we need to see Alexander Volkanovski versus either Mazur or Lerone Murphy. Please do not put him in there against John Silva. Yes, he had one win against Arnold Allen, but it's not going to be competitive. We need guys who are actually at the top of the weight class. We need rightful contenders to fight the champion, just like in the lightweight division. We saw last week, Paddy Pimblett had no business being in the octagon with Justin Gaethje. Now this is back-to-back events where you clearly do not have the two best fighters in the world fighting for a belt. And I feel like the UFC should absolutely learn from this and stop this nonsense. We don't want to see it, because the best fights are when the best fighters actually fight each other. And this is what needs to happen from now on. And then in the co-main event, we had Dan Hooker and Benoit Saint-Denis, and that was a great fight. Benoit Saint-Denis was able to get the win by second round TKO. And early on, it was looking a little bit dicey for Benoit. Dan Hooker was hurt him to the body with a lovely front kick to the body. He was tagging him up on the feet, and he was defending the takedowns and threatening with submissions to scramble and get himself back into position. And he did a great job of that early on. But as the fight went on, then Benoit Saint-Denis just kept the pressure. He just stayed in Dan Hooker's face, and that eventually led to the finish. He was able to just get in Hooker's face, land a lot of shots, and eventually get the takedowns. And also, then Hooker tried to get a takedown at one point, but he got reversed, which was a mistake, and it led to him taking a bunch of damage from Benoit. And Benoit was just constantly either going for a submission or trying to hit Dan Hooker, and eventually he got to full mount, a very dominant position, and he just unloaded with nasty ground and pound, and the referee had no option to stop the fight because Dan Hooker wasn't really moving. And for Benoit Saint-Denis, I think he should fight Paddy Pimblett next. I think that's a great fight for both guys. I don't think you throw Benoit Saint-Denis to Arman Tsarukyan. The only fight Arman Tsarukyan should be having is a title fight, or he should be fighting the winner of the BMF title fight. And also, we don't want to ruin Benoit Saint-Denis' momentum. You have a contender here, so let's build him up instead of throwing him to another top contender, instead of maybe giving him other matchups so he can further develop and potentially fight for the title one day. So I think that's what Benoit should do. And as for Dan Hooker, I think Moicano will be a good option. I think Brian Ortega pulled out of the Moicano fight, so why not have Moicano versus Dan Hooker? They've been calling each other out. They're both on the older side, and I think it'll be a pretty good matchup. But then we have Mauricio Rufy knocking out Rafael Fiziev, and I did not see this coming. I thought Rafael Fiziev was going to win. I thought he was the better striker, but I was wrong. Mauricio Rufy is very slick, and the thing that impressed me the most about him is how calm he stayed in there at all times. Like, Rafael Fiziev was learning some really nice leg kicks, and you can see like his Rufi's calf was getting red, and it seemed like he was taking some damage, but he just stayed calm at all times. He wasn't overreacting. He was in control, and he was able to find his beautiful, perfect jab. And Fiziev tried to, evade it. He tried to use his head movement, but Mauricio Rufi's precision and accuracy was on point tonight. He was able to find them and land some really clean shots and evade as well. Like, his defense looked good, but that finishing sequence was really impressive. He faked the jab, and then he went into like a massive right hand that landed right on Fiziev's eye, and that like, he was out from that punch. He tried to fight back and kind of stay in the fight, but he was out. And that was a good performance from Rufi, really good. I think he should fight a guy like Mateusz Gamrot next. I feel like we need to see Rufi's grappling, because obviously in the BSZ fight, we know what happened there. He got out grappled and got submitted. So let's see how he does against another grappler before we can put him up there against like some of the higher ranked guys in the weight class. I think he showed that he is one of the best strikers by knocking out Fiziev the way he did. That's something that even Justin Gaethje couldn't do. But overall, really great performance from Mauricio Rufi. And then we had probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. But it was Thaleson Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa. I mean, what a slop that was. I mean, obviously, with all due respect, these are world-class fighters. But what was that? Like, we pay money to see these fights, and then we get that on the main card. It's actually unreal. Tai Tuivasa should be cut from the UFC. He's on a 6-fight losing streak, and he did not look nearly as good as he used to. Like, I feel like he's clearly on a decline. He was really big in there, and he gassed out right away. Like, he was getting taken down with no resistance at all. And like, he was gassing out. Like, he had an opportunity to KO a guy like Thaleson Teixeira in the third round, but it seemed like he just had no gas left in the tank. And I know MMA is really hard, like mixing the wrestling and the striking, getting back up. It's really, really difficult. But a guy like Tai Tuivasa, who is a professional, that's his job. That is your job, to be in shape. You've got like 12 weeks to prepare, maybe like 8 weeks to prepare for these fights. And so there is a little bit of an expectation that should be set, but it wasn't. And even Thaleson Teixeira, I thought he'd been more aggressive. He had opportunities to potentially get Tai Tuivasa out of there. He was controlling him, and it's not like Tai Tuivasa was holding him down and like locking his hands so Thaleson couldn't really posture up. No, he had opportunities to, but he didn't, and that is really disappointing. And I don't want to see either of those guys fight again, to be honest. And then there was Quaylen Salkild, who went out there and submitted Jamie Mullarkey, and the dude is really impressive. He's on a 4-fight unbeaten streak in the UFC, and I believe he's got 3 finishes now. He's really good, great fighter, really well-rounded as well. Like, he has several knockouts, and he just submitted Jamie Mullarkey in the first round, and that was really good performance from him. I would like to see him get a fight in the top 15, maybe against a guy like Michael Chandler, maybe against a guy like Beneil Dariush, and see where he's at. And I think he does belong in the top 15. But overall, that was I would say this card was about like a 6 out of 10. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I'm glad Volk won and didn't retire, and I hope that the UFC learns that we should not be seeing undeserved title shots, and I hope that this changes very, very soon. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.